to the channel, guys. Eugene Cussons here as per usual. We're going to be starting with the first session, but before we get into it, I think it's I'm going to do something that I've never done before, and that is just to give you guys a little bit of insight of who I am. And the reason why, you know, after like 10 years of doing YouTube channels or having a presence in the flying community, most people don't even know who I was before I got into flying. And it's just because I'm an incredibly private person, if I can put it that way. And it's kind of funny or weird to hear that from me, simply because of the profile I used to have. And let's just call it my former life. All right, so I studied at the University of Pretoria to become an economist. Eventually, I started a business with my father, and we got into a game reserve and game lodge. It's the same property that my second project in life, and probably the most successful project I ever did, got built on, and that was the Chimp Eden facility, which is a chimpanzee rehabilitation facility. So I used to be, you know, after about a year of working with the chimpanzees and doing rescues all over Africa, I got into the rehabilitation of them in a more serious manner, and then I was approached by Discovery Channel, having been a TV presenter on and off here in South Africa, and so I started working for Discovery Channel in the US. Funny enough, had a contract with them as a talent. I worked next to other talent at the same time as, you know, presenters like Bear Grylls and Les Strout and some of those guys. I'll share a picture of one of the talk shows I was on. I pretty much did every single talk show there was except Oprah. I think it was because I went on to the Ellen DeGeneres show, and you know, back in the day, Ellen DeGeneres and Oprah were competing for personalities to go onto these shows. So pretty much done all of them. Yeah, I had a successful career in television, but the thing about me is I'm not a very, I would say, open personality, you know, when it comes to sharing feelings and shit like that. I think the reason why is because of the way I was raised. I was raised in a very militaristic type of family, and therefore you keep your shit to yourself and you get down to business, and whatever business that is. And I think that is some of my strong points. I don't see that as a weak point at all. This modern concept of sharing your life with everyone is just absolute garbage. I don't see any reason why you need to share whatever troubles you have with the rest of the world. Your job is to deal with your own crap. So we're getting into some deeper stuff right now, talking about this. But the point is that I'm not the type of person that you don't cry on my shoulder. I'm not there to, you know, to make you feel better. It is my job, though, as an instructor. And this is where it gets to the next point, is that I did a lot of instruction work. Not construction work, instruction work with my father's business, which was, he was a legendary personality in the four-wheel drive community with Land Rover. Played a pivotal role with the development of the off-road scene and projects like the Camel Trophy and the Land Rover Experience. At one point, the same facility was carrying the largest off-road training facility in the Southern Hemisphere. And he had a lot of students come through here, and he made me an instructor eventually. Kind of like an adventure racing. It was that period where off-road driving was going into adventure racing, and I was a pretty good athlete from university side, so I had a good side of doing very athletic stuff like running and cycling and mountaineering, everything. And obviously I was a very good off-road driver as well, so that just made me a good instructor. But I went under his lead as far as instruction goes, and my dad was a legendary instructor. There's nothing that he couldn't teach you to do. So you know, I guess this channel is a tribute to him. I hope that some of the stuff that I learned from him when it comes to teaching people goes back to what he taught me initially, and how to present and how to deal with students when they have their little hissy fits, or when they have proud moments. And I think if you guys watch my videos, you know, some of my social media videos, Facebook posts, some of the shots have me and the student in, and they're doing their first flights or something like that. I'm way more excited than the student is, I think. I think I share every single one of those exciting moments, because that's the passion that I have for the sport. That's why I do what I do today. I wasn't really, I didn't really dig into the whole Hollywood scene or the entertainment scene that much. I don't think that that was something that I was destined to keep on doing. Although I'm still have a production company. I'm still busy with production projects, and I most likely will do some more in the future at whatever time of my choosing. And we're working on a project right now, which some of you know about already. So it's something that I still do, but I like to do it whenever I want to do it. I'm at that point in my life now where I'm just do whatever I want to do. And I have a real big passion for flying. So I did, I did that TV series for Escape to Chimp Eden for a very long time on Animal Planet. And there's me with a chimp on it. Also authored a book. First book I wrote, I got a book of the month with Penguin Books. Did pretty well in selling it as well. So, and there was a DVD series. I do believe this one actually does have it. Oh, still got a DVD in it. There we go. Still got a DVD in it as well for the TV series. It's Animal Planet TV series combined with a book. That's how it came out. Didn't fancy being an author permanently, so just did the one book. And yeah, since then I've always remained extremely passionate about the planet. That is, I think, animals, the way I communicate with animals, the way I work with animals and the way I perceive the planet and solutions is on a scale which I think comes back to my history with studying economics and being very good at macroeconomics. I look at the bigger picture and everything. So I have a bigger picture approach when it comes to science, and also, my approach on solutions to come up to help save the planet in a lot of ways. So that's my hobby. That's what I do on the sideline, and that's what I will keep on doing on the sideline. I think the reason why I got into paramotoring was I was a fixed wing pilot for a great many years, and we had a project in Gabon, and there it was working with the ex-military guys, guys from 3-2 Battalion, recce's, a whole bunch of specialized personalities, and I had a real big patch of the rainforest I was trying to protect because it was a place where gorillas and chimpanzees were roaming free, and they had rehabilitation facilities as well. So I worked physically with those animals in the wild. I used to climb rainforest trees. In my day, I used to climb faster than a chimpanzee up to the top of the tree. And we're talking about a 50-meter rainforest tree in the rainforest in Gabon. So it was a lot of fun being in that project, but we were looking for aviation platforms that could get through the canopy, that could be quick response teams. Like I said, I did allude a little bit to military training, and I worked with a lot of military personalities. And so started with helicopters, with UH-1 helicopters, and then went into fixed-wing aircraft, dabbling with all different technologies, working with fixed-wing aircraft and thermal cameras. The technology really wasn't that good back in the day. And then eventually it got to the point where there was this one day I was working here in South Africa with the chimpanzees inside the forest, and a guy flew over with very rudimentary paramotor back in the day. Now, if you put yourselves back 15, 20 years, it was probably about 16, 17 years ago, I don't know, it was a long time ago. It's before the advent of the instinct. Guy was flying over the forest, and he saw me right through the forest canopy, and he waved at me, and I waved back, and I thought, that's the ticket. That is the way we make aviation affordable for these parks in Africa, because they can't afford to fly helicopters and buy the fuel for it. So I got into the sport, trained under an instructor for did the ground handling training. There weren't fields or paramotor fields back in the day. It was just a few in South Africa, and it was very far away from where I was. Didn't have a great experience simply because of the equipment I was training on. So I walked away from it for a while. And then eventually I got in contact with Pavel Brezina from Nirvana. I think my initial comments about paramotoring was, this isn't flying, simply because I was used to fixed wing. This was looking for a place to crash. So that was my first impressions of paramotor flying. But when I spoke to him over the phone, his approach was, Eugene, I promise you that if you buy a Nirvana Instinct, I promise your experience will be different, and you'll have a very different approach and view of this form of aviation. And so that was, he sponsored me initially, got into it for conservation's sake. I mean, for Nirvana, it was a benefit to get into paramotoring and conservation because they wanted a platform that could test these machines for longer and harder. And that's exactly what I did. I set up a contract with the Kruger National Park, the MTPA guys, that's got some areas within the Kruger National Park. And I started doing anti-poaching flying. But around about the same time, the Special Forces were on this equipment as well, and I got involved with them as well. And, I started designing and redesigning a lot of the stuff that the Special Forces would use on their equipment, on Nirvanas, and they were using the same machines, the Nirvanas, at the same time as I was, flying these three machines 24/7, literally 24/7. A machine would not shut its engine off almost for maybe 5 or 10 minutes on the ground per day. So they were flying these machines really hard, and it was really incredible to be part of that project, to see how they were successful using the equipment. But also it showcased a lot of the points of improvement, stuff that we could improve on. And I wanted to do a record attempt flying from Cairo to South Africa with the Instinct 200. And at that point, I didn't feel the technology was there. I didn't think that it would be possible for me to do that in the African landscape. Surely that was possible. It was done in Canada and those places, but I didn't think that it would be survivable in Africa with the current technology. And so this whole process, just years and years and years, was just chiseling away at it. And that's where the Icarus flying the races came from, where I did the Icarus X and the Icarus 2018, and I don't think I did about three or four. I can't even remember how many of those Icarus races I did. It was Icarus X, most of them, and the one through 2018 Icarus. So it's not just machine development; it's wing development as well. And I work closely with Dudek after the Hadron XX, because that's what I used in those Icarus races, and I felt that was a wing that was not suited for these crazy types of situations that you would get into. So anyway, I got eventually into test pilot flying for Dudek as well, on most notably the Warp 2, just sending my input on and my thoughts on it, and obviously feedback all the way back from Hadron to the Warp 1 to the Warp 2. So it's not that I'm an official test pilot for them in the sense that I work for any of these companies specifically. I do have a very close relationship with Nirvana. That's true. It's because I send a lot of the upgrade points, what my feelings on what the market wants, and what I see happens on these training sessions with students. I didn't even get to the point where along the road I got into instruction as well, simply because I went to Dudek and I went to Nirvana, spent time working in those factories to understand the technology better, and I became a product expert. So I started working with instruction schools to better understand the product. And I had a problem with the way instruction was done, simply because an instructor might not know the product that he's teaching the student on at all. Now, from fixed wing aviation side that I came from, you got a rating on the equipment that you were flying. The instructor would be with you. He'd make sure you'd be rated on it. You'd be flying for a couple of hours on it, and good in takeoff and landings. You understand the equipment, and you get a rating on that specific aircraft. But that's a Cessna 172 or 182 or whatever. And the point was that's not present in paramotoring. Your wing gets shipped to whoever, and he flies it. And nothing could be further from the truth to think that you could fly any piece of wing that you get your hands on. They are very different. They have different takeoff techniques. They have different settings on the trimmers. They have different behavior when it comes to flying with trims and using brakes and speed bar and all of these different things. And I don't think that point comes across too strongly. So I worked very close with a lot of instructors, but most notably the guy that I most appreciated working with was Ronnie Bekers. We bumped a lot of heads with one of the largest schools in South Africa. And we learned a lot from each other. I was the product expert to advise him on that, and started instructing under him as well. And eventually it just turned into the fact that eventually he passed away, and the situation snowballed into an effect where the sport was also being over-regulated by the Civil Aviation Authority. And most instructors just wanted to walk away. They had no more platform to work from, because you now have to have a declared training organization. So I became a full-time instructor in that sense. Yeah. I say full-time, I make time, if I can put it that way. All of these instructors came in under my declared training organization. I manage their standards. I manage they have employment contracts with the Nirvana Aero School. And now is the time that we get to work together, in the sense that no matter what brand they train students on, we try and standardize our approach and how we treat students, how we treat the type of equipment that comes in that they are trained on, and we can improve our safety as far as the industry goes within our environment. We're not, because all of the training organizations are now their own organizations, it really isn't something that bothers me what another school does, what equipment they fly, whatever else. Within our club, more than 270 pilots represented, PG and PPG, so it's in trike and whatever else. It's a lot of pilots that are represented. Along the same time, I got into with Nirvana North America. Ryan Shaw was a very respected pilot with Para, I think it was Para Adrenaline. There were some issues with dealing with customers, and a rough patch that he went through in his life. I'm not sure where he is right now in connection with that, so if there's any questions about that, don't ask me, I don't care. Like I said, I'm a pretty cold fish when it comes to people's personal issues. For me, it's about the customer at the end of the day, the customer and the trainee, the student. The approach to them is important. Do they get their service? Do they get the right training? Do they get the right support? And so I'm pretty much just I deal within the market, I deal with the customers, I deal with the passionate people that fly these machines. But also I train students that fly almost any piece of kit. But that also is a very good advantage for me, because I have a good understanding of other equipment. And also, if a student tries to get airborne with a piece of kit that has been sold, I can stop him from doing it. I've been in situations where a student gets to me, has a wing that's completely wrong, or phones me up from another country and says, I've been sold this wing. So you can come into my school, I'll make you fly a wing which is safe for you. No matter what the brand is, if I've got access to it, I'll let you fly a safe wing. But if you're outside of the regulations when it comes to weight range, etc., gives me an opportunity to explain that point and to get him off equipment that he's going to hurt himself on, or is going to cost him a lot in parts, blood and treasure, if we can put it that way. So I have a very good understanding of what other products can do, especially from the racing scene. We have a local racing cup. I started the Speedrun Cup here in South Africa. It's something that is struggling to catch on the rest of the world, because it's very tough in the sense that it's somewhere between 150 and 200 kilometers of flying as fast as you can, out and back. There's no room for cheating whatsoever. And it's very hard on the pilots. They've got to fly through variable conditions. And for me, that was a really good platform to start from, to get pilots motivated to get into racing, because they'd finish a course, they'd look out to what can I do possibly, after that. And to get into a cross-country racing environment is really great, because you can have fun chasing somebody else or being chased, and you could have the airtime with other professional pilots, guys that got a lot of experience at the same time in the air, and that's great, because they have you learn from other pilots that have more experience. They tell you it's too dangerous to fly, or at what altitude to go over the mountain, because there's a lot of communication going on. Then that's how you learn. And also those pilots see the benefit of getting onto what's called a sport license which you need to get into racing on the international scene. So that's great. I mean, that it gives pilots the ability to improve on their skills, get a better license, and become better pilots. And at the end of the day, that's all we want. So right now, that is my focus, and I think this is the latest step now. Is we've got some great importers in North America. They are trying to find their feet. So if you're from the US and you've had some trouble with your importer, then just keep in mind that it's not extremely easy to take a country like the United States and the size of it and get it right off the bat. So these importers are finding their feet, they're increasing their stock, and they're doing their best. And obviously from the Nirvana side, we're doing our best to get through this period as well. Then we got COVID and we got all that other crap that happened, and it just stifles, we trip over these obstacles, but we keep going. In South Africa, I think we're in a really good place. In a really good place as far as, hold on one second. We're in a really good place as far as instructors go. They're extremely capable, especially the ones that are involved with us. And the other schools and the other instructors that are here and there. I can speak well of some instructors, but there's some really bad characters in the game still, but I mean, we won't get into that. What the goal is at the end of the day is that as many of us can get along and we can work through this period of regulation, over-regulation, and eventually we'll get somewhere where students can have an easier time. And that's where we are today with this project, is to bring these classes online, make these subjects of such a nature that a student, no matter where he is in the world, can tap into a regulated curriculum. When I say regulated curriculum, I mean these, what we teach students, they have to write exams on that. Just like in fixed-wing aviation, whether you're in America or here in South Africa, it's the same process, but it's applied to paramotoring. And that information cannot be changed according to the narrative of the instructor. And that's very important, because in the marketplace, the instructor will tell you a whole bunch of bullshit because he's trying to sell something. And that's the other problem I had initially with instruction in South Africa, is because they tie to certain brands, so it doesn't make sense at all to have that kind of approach. You're not going to compare a VW to a Ferrari. You just don't do it. How's that comparable? Maybe if it's a Bugatti to a Ferrari or something, you can do that. But designers had something in mind when they designed equipment. And so the VW fits a purpose, but a Ferrari fits a purpose as well. They don't fit the same purpose. And in flying, it's no different as well. So I have no qualms about calling a spade a spade. And I think that's what's made me less popular within the flying community, is because I'd call it out. I'd say, this is a problem, fix it. That's a problem, fix it. And these guys would just keep on selling at whatever standard they're doing. And there is a lot of attempts to cover up accidents. I've seen accident reports that could have been avoided if the design was done in the right way. But there is a process in the world where things are being made cheaper because of the value of currency becoming less. Your buying power becomes less. The dollar's buying power is less. When we were selling Nirvanas 15 years ago, it wasn't a problem to sell a motor at $13,000, $14,000. You can't do that today without being lambasted tremendously. And that's what some of the troubles are that we're getting, is the fact that we are expensive motors. Things are getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Now, don't think that manufacturing processes are becoming better and therefore the machines are becoming cheaper. Now, the corners are being cut and the machines are becoming cheaper, and so are the wings getting into the market as well. And so you've got to be careful about what you buy, and you've got to have knowledge in order to have a proper approach. There is no such thing as a free meal. And if somebody's trying to offer you a free meal plus $1 or something like that, you need to know that if something smells, it smells. It's just the way it is. So I think that bit of honesty is what you're going to get in this channel. I'm not here and I'm not presenting a training channel to badmouth products. I'm under contract, and I keep my instructors that are involved with my DTO under contract that they are not allowed to badmouth products. So we're walking a very thin line from speaking the truth to openly making pilots feel bad about their equipment. We're not allowed to do that. If you have no faith in your equipment, you're not going to want to fly it. You're going to mess up in there because you're going to be worried constantly about it. I just had a student now that constantly had this idea in his head that this thing was going to bite him in the butt when he was going airborne, and I knew it wasn't. But the fact is that watching YouTube, seeing accidents, hearing comments about motors, that will give you a little bit of lack of faith in what you're flying. And I think we're trying to steer away from that. If the instructor can determine that the equipment is safe for the use that it was designed for, then there shouldn't be no worry with the student on whether that equipment is safe. I know this is not a rant. I'm just giving you guys an idea of who I am, what my approach is. My daughter calls it dad lore. She says, I've got plenty of dad law. It's a Gen Z term. My daughter's 16 years old. I've done everything. I've pretty much done everything. I've been on television. I've been an economist. I've designed software. I've been an off-road instructor. I'm a champion marksman, long-range marksman, semi-automatic marksman. I shoot guns all over the place. It's something that I do. I work with the military. I've done everything. So I've got a whole bunch and bag experiences and approaches. So I've got a good idea, even at my age, I've got a good idea of what works and what doesn't work. I've not been stuck in some single grind. I didn't come from the paragliding scene over to paramotoring. I've been all over the world doing a lot of stuff, and a lot of difficult places as well. So I know the good side of life and I know the bad side of life. And this is what I want you to expect from the channel. There's going to be a lot of honesty. There's no bullshit. I have no time for bullshit. So if you want to feed me bullshit, go somewhere else. If you want to cry on my shoulder, go do it somewhere else. My shoulder's not there to cry on. I don't wear nappies on my shoulders as pads. So I'm very good at reading people. That's the other thing as an instructor, because I work with chimpanzees and one of the only people that ever rehabilitated inside the same cage, going in with a fully grown male chimp and rehabilitating him to be part of a family. So just take that into account. If I misread the body language and the personality and what's being said, then it'll cost me my life. That's what my series was all about, was being extremely dangerous situations and knowing what I'm doing to the extent that I'll survive. My life is on the line. And chimps and humans have very little difference. A chimp is a 5-year-old human, pretty much. And body language and lying is very much the same, coming from both. So therefore, I read my students incredibly well. And the plus point of that is if I see there's a lot of shit going on in your head, then I'm not going to let you take off. If I see that your body language, your hands are shaking and you've got a bit of a stir to you, I won't let you take off. You have to have confidence in order to go get into the air. And it's my job to make sure that you feel confident about what you do. And I've got two names. I've got two nicknames, just so you guys know. The one is Soccer Mom. All right, that's kind of weird. I'm called Soccer Mom simply because I'm like a cheerleader. I'll motivate the hell out of you to get airborne, and I'll make you feel, even if you screw up and you land, you did something wrong and you got a busted prop or something, I'm going to make you feel good about it. I'm going to keep you motivated. I'm not going to throw insults at you and tell you that you didn't listen, blah, blah, blah. We're going to try it again. We're going to get it right. And that is the attitude that there should be from an instructor side, is a motivational attitude. It's not about crying on shoulders. It's toughening up and getting the job done. And that's what a student has to do. And feeling bad or sorry for yourself is not part of the environment. It's not gonna breed success to get your license. The other one is Hammer. Now, I guess you guys can pretty much determine why I'm called Hammer as in general sake. I'm not going to get into that. Just leave that a little bit of information out there. All right, guys, that is it's 28 minutes already recording. I'm going to get into the first session. I'm going to cut this video off and just use this as a presentation of who I am, what you can expect. And we're going to go straight into section 1 of the equipment selection.